Welcome to the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Real inspiration for real innovators. If you're looking for innovation and leadership transformation, your journey starts now.
Welcome to the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Bourne. Hey, did you know my new book is out, Set It On Fire, The Art of Innovation? You can head over to setitonfire.co now to learn more. Well, my guest today is Bill Mahoney. Bill is the Chief Customer Officer for Comply. Previously, Bill served as the Vice President of Customer Operations at LeaseQuery, a three-time member of Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies, where he was responsible for customer-facing training and marketing teams. Welcome to the podcast, Bill.
Natalie, thanks. And congratulations on the book. I can't even imagine the tens and hundreds of hours that went into that. And I'm looking forward to reading it. Really proud that, I know an author now.
That's awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And, I think that's one of the cool things about getting to do this podcast with you. We
Yeah.
actually know each other, which is really cool. And I thought it would be fun if we kind of went back in the day
Yeah.
and you shared a little bit with us. I mean, you just have an awesome career, but you got started somehow, right? So I'd love
Right.
for you to just talk a little bit about how you broke into the kind of the customer experience area.
Yeah, for sure. And it was actually at Career Builder where we worked together,
That's
right?
right.
So I had been sort of on the sales side of the fence, doing sales leadership, director of sales roles for software companies and some B2C stuff. And our friend Mike Hargis, who I think we both worked for,
Yep.
Mike took a chance on me to come to the customer side at Career Builder. And so that was sort of the start of it, and ran, sort of account management and some pieces of support. And from there, I've sort of settled into this road of, kind of 5 million and up to $100 million software companies doing the same thing, running post-sale experience across all the different groups that leads to. So it was really, that was my pivot point, was when I came over to Career Builder and started working with you and your brother and all of our friends. That, we had a really good run there and a really great group. But Mike was the one who took a chance on me and moved me over to that side of the business.
So, Mike took a chance on a lot of us.
That's
And
true. Yeah.
I actually remember over on the side of the office that we eventually ended up taking over a tree. I don't know if you remember this tree. And it was all the people that had been promoted out of
Oh, right.
customer
Yes.
experience and
Yes.
into other areas of the organization. And I don't remember, there had to be like over 200 people
Yeah.
on that tree. Like just the amount of investment that he made in people as a leader. I think it's worth pausing and slowing down and saying, like, it matters to work for phenomenal leaders. It makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, that's totally true. And Mike definitely was that. And he was very focused on career growth and development. And I learned a ton working for him. I mean, he kind of activated another side of my brain that I probably didn't know I had, sort of more analytical and operational sort of thinking. I would say too, I think that's part of what I've really enjoyed about being in the customer experience side, is because you get a bunch of talent who really knows your products and services super well, right?
Mm.
And they have high value across the organization to other groups. So, in your world, I've seen a bunch of folks that were in my groups go to product,
Yeah.
in some cases go to the sales organization. And so that's part I've enjoyed, is watching careers kind of take off as they become experts, know how to talk to customers. Then they can take that and do a lot of different things with it. It's been really rewarding. And so, yeah, Mike was a good mentor for us on that road.
Absolutely. I think for many people who get into customer experience, it's just a phenomenal launching point for their
Yeah.
career. Talk a little bit about how customer experience can play a role in driving revenue. I think that this is something that, as we move more and more to SaaS kind of
Yeah.
setup product, that this has really become the linchpin for moving not just the sales side, but the ability to actually stop churn and keep customers.
Yeah, and it's evolved, right? I would say that over the years, CX had been probably in that first avenue you described, which is keep customers adopting, keep them happy, and keep them renewing. And now, as SaaS has evolved, the cross sell motion has become such an integral part of the GTM motion that CX organizations have really needed to relook at how they're helping fill that funnel. And I've evolved in my thinking on that over the years as well. And I think one of the things that we've done at Comply over the last couple of years, we've been growing through acquisition, and so that integration of those platforms and then cross selling customers into the potential things there has been key. And so I think it's a matter of making people believe that if everything has gone well up to that point and you're showing the customer ROI and they're adopting and they had a really good experience in onboarding and every day in support, they're getting help when they need it, that it's perfectly fine to talk about other products and services with because you know them, right? You know their use case and you know how you drive leads. How we do it is we drive leads into the sales organization. That if their sales accepted, we will pay out spiffs and bonuses on, and then there's like the close process. And we're contributing about 50% of our install base's funnel, sales accepted funnel for the year. And we've grown that from practically nothing in 2021. It's taken a couple of years, right? Where to get people comfortable with it, to get them to know when to suggest things, to get them to know what to listen for. And we've done programs like just any sales organization would do, which is like we certify people on these products and get them to be able to record and talk about it in a way and try and enable them so that we can drive more that way. And I'm really proud of what the team's done here at Compliant. Like I said, my thinking has evolved on this over the years. And, I think we're going to drive a significant part of that install base revenue this year, probably about a third or so, will come from leads from our customers that anybody in our group, and that's support, onboarding, obviously success can do. And so it's a work in progress. I talked about this at our private equity owner K1. We had a conference last week. I talked about how we've done this. And I think that any CX org that's not involved in the revenue process at this point probably needs to get there because it helps prove other things you might want to do. Like you can prove why you need more people because you're driving revenue, right? Those kind of things. In times of tight budgets, it makes a difference.
How do you move a team in that direction, especially if you've taken on a team that is not used to, working in that kind of form or function? How do you start to what does it look like tactically to begin to not only get support from the org to make this shift because it is a shift,
Yep.
but then also get support from the people who signed up maybe for a different role than they're moving into now?
Yeah. So I think it's about explaining the big picture of, in our case, why the acquisitions were put together and what we're trying to do in the industry. I'll spare the detail on that unless people are compliance people in your listener group. But I think it was finding a few things that were easy and then starting them on that. So we had a very natural progression on one particular product that we bought that was the best in the space. And so we knew our customers were using this, but we now had the elite platform for it. So we started there and we sort of said, like, this is the one to talk about. This is the differences between what we know the competition has and what we have and what we can do. And once we sparked some of that, we had to spark easier conversations, if that makes sense. And once you started getting some wins, you could kind of see it spread through the organization a little bit. So like in any initiative like this, there's the early adopters and the team start seeing success, you start talking about those successes, you kind of build a culture around it. And now it becomes a little bit more the expectation. And we set, some BHAG goals. And when 2022 started, when 2022 started, that we wanted to be a third of their funnel. We were like 40% last year. So like, just setting some team goals as well. Certainly they are responsible to do all the other parts of their job. They're so important, adoption and ticket support and all those things. But we believe that customers will maybe listen to them a little more because they're a trusted advisor. And when that happens, then you start to see it build slowly over time. And, I love the chart we've got for it. I love to show it off at, like I said, at conferences or in board meetings or whatever. And the team's really taken to it. I'm super proud of them.
Wow. It's cool to hear that it's those small incremental wins that
Yeah.
are beginning to move the team forward. It wasn't this big, huge like, "Hey, tomorrow," but it's more of a let's start to see, kind of an
Yeah.
iterative process to win. Talk a little bit about some of the customer base growth that you have. Talk about maybe tools, techniques,
Yeah.
best practices. What are you leveraging to be able to help just with this customer experience, putting that in place?
Yeah. So I think we're like everybody else, right? So resources are hard to come by. You have to have a really airtight business case. We're trying to grow profitably and we're successful at that. So what we're trying to do is really build a bunch of different programs and ways that customers can engage with us the way they want in a way that is fast and efficient for them and they can get back to their day. We think a lot about like the user sitting in front of our software all the time and like what are the things that they might need help with so that they can process their work faster or be more efficient in how they use the platform. And so in that vein, we've spent a lot of time, hundreds of hours on really like rebuilding our knowledge base. So it's super robust, it's easily searchable. We've got, if you learn by text, great. If you're a video person, we've got video, GIFs, screenshots, all the pieces so that people can get kind of help they want. We also have expanded things like one-to-many interactions. And what I mean by that is we have office hours 3 times a week. You can come in, ask a question. You can be with our biggest customer in there or with our smallest customer. Anybody's invited to come in and get their problem solved right then again, getting it fast, getting them back to their jobs. And then we offer a lot of webinars around particular trainings, like platform wide or specific segments, right? So you can come in and get up to speed on something else. We also have a bunch of education campaigns we'll run around certain features, things like that. All these are part of, kind of what the new community in SaaS is really like, beyond just people talking to each other. It's different ways to engage all of your customers. Usually this stuff is built for smaller customers, but
Mhm.
we believe it helps the whole customer base, with the goal of getting people back to doing what they're doing for their jobs in a quicker, more efficient fashion. And so that allows you to still provide really good, fast, and efficient service, which I think is probably, my theory is, it's more important to customers than maybe white glove service, right? And so we're building a ton of those programs, and we're trying a bunch of different stuff. And some of it works and some of it grows over time. And our support team, success team really work together on that. And we're doing some things at onboarding that mimic some of that thing from a scale perspective. Like, you need some training help, come into this group session. And all of it is meant to provide a platform for customers to get the help they need the way they want it. The way we think
Mhm.
about it, I talk to the team all the time about, like, let's figure out how to train thousands, not tens of people, right?
Right.
And so we're really focused on that. Everybody in SaaS and post sales has the resources that they have. Nobody's out there with like way too many resources to support customers. If they do, I'd like to meet them and see how they got the budget for that. So these kind of programs, I think if you are on LinkedIn and see what CX people are talking about, these are the kind of programs that people are in place. Everybody's trying different things to see what works for their particular customer.
What would you say is what are some of the most innovative ways that people are educating customers right now and just kind of helping them through the complexities of SaaS?
So I would say it's a version of a little bit of what I talked about, like being there with help when the customers need it, whether that's Pendo Guides in app, right?
Mhm.
That you try, or whether it's, we have one of our products has a knowledge base kind of on a per page basis that you're on. They built that in the product, which I thought was clever. I think one of the underfunded pieces in CX is customer education as its own devoted resource, people, process, and tools to really drive that education to customers and be able to track the adoption with it. We have somebody who does that today, sort of a little bit off the side of his desk because he's doing other things. But you see this cropping up across SaaS. Ginger Knighton, who used to work with us, Ginger Tranner now at Career Builder, runs that for Sales Loft. There's people who are making a bunch of hay in that space. And so I'm paying attention to all the things that people are doing in that space and seeing what would work for our particular customers. But I think, having people whose mindset is just finding different ways to educate people, certifying them on the product or things of that nature is really helpful to SaaS organizations. Again, I would encourage people to, look around LinkedIn around, how do you prove that out from an ROI perspective when budget might be difficult to get? You definitely have to show that adoption is moving, or the set of customers you're engaging, that the renewal rate is better, or that they're growing. Like, those are the things I think that would help get resources in those departments. But I think when you think about it with just that lens, it makes it easy for somebody to be super creative around the different ways they can do that.
That's really cool. I was thinking about during 2020, I worked with an organization, probably know the name if I said them, but they have the online whiteboard. And part of what they were kind of grappling with is this idea of how do you engage the customer far beyond right just using the product, but
Yes.
becoming super knowledgeable about the product and maybe even gamifying or certifying them like you're talking about. Are you seeing anyone in the space that's doing that well, or is this kind of a place that there is a potential for a land grab to be able to gamify or certify customers so that you're just seeing kind of the growth and the value in them really understanding the platform and becoming super knowledgeable?
Yeah, I think I've seen some stuff on gamification. I can't speak to if it's super effective or not. We spent a lot of time and resources and energy, like one person's full-time job for months and months, to build admin and user certifications for the product at Sales Loft, right? So we would have that piece in place. We did some live things too, and really did see, I guess, obviously pre-pandemic, we really did see for admins, if they went to a live thing and we did a 2-day sort of deep dive on all things in the platform,
Mhm.
that we would watch some of the key adoption metrics later, and we saw it across the board, 30-40% pickup, right? So I think that thing has power. It is expensive, and there's, that sort of challenge with it. I would say the other thing, that to pivot off, like becoming experts in the product and the service. Yes, we've also tried to do a good job of matching customers together to talk about the industry and maybe talk
Hmm.
about what they're doing in the product together. We have a long way to go there, but it's high on my list for 24 is, they want to talk to each other in small groups. They want to talk to each other one to one, especially in their particular space. We serve a bunch of different verticals within the financial services industry. So getting PE customers to talk to each other, right, is something that they desire, and we need to work harder. It's like if you think about like a community 2.0 play, that's
Hmm.
another one in there is getting these folks together so they can, share stories and learn from each other. And if you can act as a connector that way, I feel like that's pretty powerful in terms of keeping people involved with you as well. And we're short of doing like events all over the place. We're trying to figure out ways to do that at more scale for next year. And that's, customer advisory board, which I know you know about from your product days and, virtual events, virtual customer events, that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, I think that's super wise. I think the place where I've seen most success is when you get a cross section of customers,
Yeah.
same challenges, same titles, same organizational size, PE for sure, and just saying, hey, we're going to spend some time working on these things, but then there's time for networking, there's time for kind of crossover. I think that that is super effective. It just continues to be, right? In any industry, I think it's a play for customer experience just in and it kind of gives you a level up as an organization if you can identify and bring those people together. Talk a little bit about just how customers' needs, we know this, they're growing, their needs change very, very often. What worked a year ago doesn't necessarily work today. Can you talk a little bit about what are some different success strategies that you put in place with your teams to help support as you scale, right? As
Yeah.
not only as you grow, but as the client grows along with you.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of variance here, I would say, depending on what your platform is charged with doing for your customers. In our world, it's compliance related. So this has to work and it has to work well, or there's significant fines and penalties and nonsense that can happen after the fact. So once we got to a certain size and we have, we run a play from SMB all the way up to enterprise, right? So we've
Mhm.
got, very complex customer requirements all the way down to sort of the most basic. We have a technical CSM team who are product experts, and they're run by a terrific director on our team who's got a background in consulting, and she knows the platform and she knows how to guide customers. And so I think that's on the higher end. That's one thing we've done is said, okay, let us come in and optimize your platform with you. Let's sit with you. Let's watch. We'll give you all sorts of ways that you can become more efficient. What I heard from customers in 23, Natalie, was, hey, look, like every dollar is important and every piece of ROI we can scrape is important too. So how do we get more efficient with what we have? And so
Mhm.
engaging, and again, it's another budget exercise, right? But if you have more of them, great. If you can figure out that person support is good at it, you can use them too. But we really engage them at the high end to make sure that these complex workflows that our customers have to drive the needs that they have through the software are met and that we're doing it in the most efficient manner. That also drives a lot of platform requests, feature requests, and I won't call it noise, but just it does, like, you have to be ready for what else comes with it, which is like, well, wait, we're at a stopping point. You have to choose A or B, and they want C. And so that's good for the product organization to see and hear as well. So I'd say at the high end, that's what we do. At the more middle end, I think it's like an opportunity. I mean, this varies by company, but I would say for us in the middle end more, there's a managed services offering that comes in. So non-platform maybe, but somebody who can help them navigate from a consulting standpoint, professional services standpoint, the things they need to do within their compliance organization, both in and out of the platform. That we've launched some things there and we're working towards really figuring that out. So I think that middle customer needs that as well. And on the small side, we're just like, how do we get them through the day the easiest way? Because they're all things, right? They are the
Mhm.
owner and the bookkeeper and they're trying to get new business. And so we're trying to make it simple for them. So those are just some of the ways that for us, it varies wildly across the segment. And then I think it's like, can you get them to open up to you,
Mhm.
right, about what the plans are, where they're going and where their challenges are? And we try to always keep in mind, like, how do we get that person who is our admin and the person we're trying to, get the most possible ROI out of this to look like a hero to their boss or give their boss more information or show that they're saving money, being more efficient, yada, yada. We're trying to give them that data to help them out. Those are some of the ways I think, you get more sticky with the customers that way. You can convince them you're on your side, trying to help them with their career as well or their goals. And then, when things come up or when, we enhance the product and we want them to invest some more, we have the right to ask at that point too. And if we can see around the corner with them, that's all the more helpful because we can say, well, this is coming down the road. It's going to be a thing for you.
Yeah, that's powerful. Just even thinking about how do you help them kind of expand their vision beyond kind of the day to day and what they're the
Yeah.
grind, right? That they're just trying to survive and give them a little bit more of an outlook of where things are going so that
And
they can.
yeah, I'm sorry. And like what other customers are doing to solve similar problems, right? I think is
Mhm.
a powerful recipe. And we've done some of those things with reporting and other ways that we let them compare notes a little bit. It's all a little bit different and you can't exactly match it, but they
Yeah.
want to know they're at least thinking about things the right way. I mean, I read LinkedIn all the time about CX stuff. Am I missing something? Is there something that would fit our business out there?
Mhm.
Like we resegmented to engage with our top likely to retain and likely to grow customers off a model that I found I mean, so everyone's trying to do the same thing, which is how do you get really good ideas to put in practice for your place? And we want to try and deliver that through how we engage with customers.
Are you seeing a lot of organizations move towards more community driven platforms to do that, like to create that interaction, to create that cross pollination?
Yeah, I think, there's a bunch of stuff now in community where before it was like, you get a bunch of users and they talk amongst each other and solve each other's problems. And maybe it does ticket deflection and maybe it does, you get a sense of super users out there together who are, help you drive your brand. I think it's all the thing now, community, think about community, it's all the things like how do you get them together virtually or together to talk? How do you get them to engage with the knowledge base? How do you get them to engage like that? When community is really about making sure that they know that they have all the tools and resources possible at
Mhm.
their fingertips to get back to their job and do things fast, like I mentioned before. That's how I'm sort of envisioning community for us. And yeah, there are platforms that'll help you do that. I think, where I am is back a little ways. Like I'm trying to organize all these pieces that we have in a way that makes sense for the customer. Then, if we decide we want to put it in a platform or whatever, we'll do that. But just are we covering all the possible bases a way to engage us in a way that makes sense?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, be a futurist for me. Go out and look into the future. Think about customer success in the
Yeah.
area of SaaS. What would you say that people should be thinking about to just stay ahead of ensuring not only they're kind of hitting some of the trends that we talked about, but
Yeah.
that they're looking far beyond that?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to sound like probably everybody you've had in your podcast. I mean, that AI is definitely going to be a play, right? So I think
Right.
if you think about again speed to get the customer back to what they're doing, then AI is going to have a huge impact. And some of the CS platforms have pieces of that already in there. We're looking at it within ours, the one that we're using. I think it's got high value on the support organization, not just for spitting tickets back at people, but solves as well. And there's players starting up in that space where we're using it, where, I think we need to do more of this is just like learning about our customers, right? Getting more deep dive into customers so that we're more credible on the phone and that sort of thing. And then I've got one person in particular on our scaled CSM team who's using it to write copy and things like that. So I think like all those things help CX be more efficient as well. I do think that I think about verticals a lot, right? So how do you serve a set of customers and they're in different verticals or different, customer types. And how are you serving them super deeply? I think the more connection you make there and the more you know there, the better you can be. How that turns out in the future, I'm not entirely sure, but like I think about like for a platform, do you have just a section that's for like for us, would it be a section just for private equity pieces or whatever?
Mhm.
I do believe that the deeper you can go there, you just make it impossible for people to leave. And then, I think the other parts that we sort of think about a lot are, how do we continually, so we have our users, right, and admins in the platform, but like their bosses are the ones that really need to understand, I think, the ROI and what we're doing. And we're constantly banging our heads against the wall and how do we get that message up? And so I think people who are good at that in the future are going to continue to win in whatever spaces they're in. From a technology perspective, I wouldn't even hazard a guess of like what comes beyond AI for this particular space. But I think that it's going to have a big impact. It's early days. We've looked at some things and we're of the belief it's going to help. It's just a matter of what and when.
Mhm. That's good. I think just astute understanding that if you're not kind of dabbling in the AI space or you're not in
Yeah.
with both feet, you're kind of being left behind at this point. So every organization in some form or fashion should be thinking about how to integrate that into not only the customer experience, but just their overall product experience.
And,
So
and
really great.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we're getting customers who are saying like, not because of how they're interacting with us, they're just asking us for like, what are you thinking about model wise, right? So I
Mhm.
mean, they're asking the question. It's about them and their work and the things they're trying to figure out, but they're trying to figure out what we're how we're thinking about it as well, which is an interesting, like, I mean, we're a compliance software, but like their work's different. They want to know what we're thinking about, who we're talking to. So those have been
Mhm.
interesting conversations as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, Bill. Well, thank you for your time today. This has been
Of course, it's
awesome,
been
and
great.
I've enjoyed catching up with you.
I know for sure.
Tell people how to find and follow you.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. So linkedin.com/in/Bill A. Mahoney. And I'm a somewhat regular poster on there, certainly reading a lot of the CX stuff. And our website is comply.com. If anybody's listening who's a compliance professional in need of our products or services, I'm happy to answer questions. And again, congrats on the book. And I really appreciated you bringing me on.
Awesome. Well, thank you for listening. And we want to just invite you to follow, subscribe, and share on this platform. Remember, don't just get out of the box, break the box and set it on fire. Let's go transform something.
Thank you for joining us for the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our show on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Innovation Meets Leadership, and visit our site at innovationmeetsleadership.com for more innovation resources.
Hey, my new book is out, Set It on Fire, The Art of Innovation. Click on the link to learn more. And don't just get out of the box, break the box and set it on fire. Let's go transform something.